goes to be able to direct them and guide where needed, because my work as a commissioner will be to direct the management or the secretariat. And because I have that knowledge, I'll be able to help there very effectively.
Thank you.
Yes.
Maybe just lastly, if I can ask, are you a registered voter?
I am a registered voter.
Where did you vote? Which polling station did you vote in the last election?
I voted at Machakos. The polling station is called, it's in the school called Machakos Primary. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Thank you so much, Ms. Kusia.
Yes.
I'll now invite Mr. Morris Kimuli to ask you a few questions.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. And you stated in the case study that you answered that one of the problems that faces our electoral process is unequal representation due to improper delimitation of constituencies.
Correct.
And do you know briefly what principles IEBC considers in delimiting constituency boundaries?
Yes, I can mention a few. One of them is population quota. Mm-hmm. The other one is based on cultural and family ties. The other one is, am I answering your question, Commissioner?
Yes, yes, go on.
I go on?
Go on.
Yeah, so I said one of them is the youth quota, population quota, so that they can achieve that. They also use the culture and family ties.
Yes.
They also use urban centers. They also use geographical regions, and they also use communication and infrastructure.
And now, do you know within what time or the duration given to the Commission to review boundaries and names of constituencies and wards?
I do.
Yes.
The review of boundaries can be done after 8 years and before expiry of 12 years. And yes, after 8 years and before expiry of 12 years.
Thank you. Now, Article 89(7) of the Constitution legislates that the Commission shall consult, while delimiting boundaries, shall consult all interested parties. Apart from the people who inhabit that area, can you think of any other interested parties the Constitution is talking about?
The Constitution talks about a consultation with the interested parties. And apart from the people who live in that area, the consultation can also be done on civil societies, also with the faith-based organizations, opinion leaders, politicians within that region, leaders generally of that place. They can be consulted to give the best. Even the common mwananchi can be consulted.
Thank you. Article 87 of the Constitution deals with electoral disputes, and I have seen from your biodata and your CV that you have handled quite a number of electoral disputes. What form do electoral disputes take? What form do electoral disputes take?
In the form of a petition. Unless
it's a petition.
Maybe I'm not getting your question.
Yes, it's a petition. Is there any other form? Yes.
Yes.
Is there any other form of electoral disputes you can think of?
Another form of electoral disputes, petitions, complaints.
What complaints?
Complaints, nomination complaints.
Nomination complaints?
Yes.
Is there any other you can think about? Let's take those two.
Yes.
Under the law,
yes,
IEBC has a role in election disputes.
Correct.
Now, what other platform is in law used to resolve electoral disputes, apart from IEBC?
We have the political party tribunal.
Yes.
That can also handle disputes.
What disputes does the political parties tribunal deal with?
It deals with the disputes between a political party and another, members of a political party, a member and a political party, and yes, I said members of the political party.
And what disputes does the Electoral Commission deal with under Article 88(4) of the Constitution? And compare that with the jurisdiction of the political parties tribunal, and perhaps indicate whether you think there is a conflict or there is no conflict.
For the commission, it deals with all the disputes during the nominations, and they cannot deal with the disputes after the declaration of elections. They deal with those ones. For the political party tribunal, I've stated what they deal with. And I think, yes, there is some conflict.
Are you aware of any decision of the court that has been rendered with respect to the jurisdiction of IEBC and the political parties tribunal with respect to disputes preceding an election? Can you think of any?
I think that the Katiba Institute case, or is it the Isaiah Kibiwat case, has handled that very well.
Do you know what was the holding in that case you have cited?
It is stated clearly that talked about there being a conflict.
There being conflict.
Yes.
It did not talk about the exact nature of the complaint. Anyway, maybe we can go maybe to more familiar territory. You have indicated you have dealt with more than 21 cases, but you have cited 6. Why you didn't think it was necessary to cite the others? I've seen you've cited the Supreme Court, and the lowest is a magistrate's court decision. You didn't cite the other 16, 15.
Yeah, I did not cite, and not that they don't exist, they do. I didn't think it was necessary to put all those cases there.
Okay, I'm looking at the Nairobi.
If I can be asked to provide them, I can provide them.
I'm looking at the Nairobi Supreme Court election petition number 22 of 2019. Which case was that?
What number?
Nairobi Supreme Court election petition number 22 of 2019.
It was a case where parties, it was actually an MCA case. And it started in the magistrate court, it went to the High Court, it went to the Court of Appeal, and it went to the Supreme Court. What the question of the law that they were actually looking at was, did the court, the Supreme Court, did the Court of Appeal have jurisdiction to handle a matter emanating from a magistrate court insofar as the MCA case is concerned.
Has that case been concluded?
It has been concluded, and this is how it has been concluded. When we went to the Court of Appeal, the matter was actually, the Court of Appeal said, there was a decision that said that the Court of Appeal cannot handle this matter because the jurisdiction of the MCA cases should end, if not at the High Court, but they still went to the Court of Appeal. When the matter went to the Court of Appeal, the party who had taken the matter there's a decision that was made by the Supreme Court saying that the Supreme Court and the Court of Appeal cannot handle a matter emanating from the Magistrates Court.
So the outcome was that there is no right of appeal to the Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court.
Yeah, so eventually the party withdrew the matter in the Supreme Court.
Okay, has that case been reported? I have looked for it, I haven't found it.
It hasn't been reported.
It hasn't been reported?
Yes.
Now, do you know the legal regime in this country that governs use of technology in our elections?
Yes, I do.
What law provides for use of technology?
It is Election Act.
What does it say in principle?
It says we can use integrated technology at Section 44.
Does it say we can use integrated technology, or it allows IEBC to use aspects of technology?
It allows IEBC to use the aspects of technology.
Okay. In your experience as a litigation counsel handling disputes, could you briefly state your experience with one aspect of a dispute involving technology, use of technology?
One dispute that
anything you have handled that related to use of technology?
Okay, the petitions I've handled, although they were not entirely on technology,
yes,
but they captured on the issue of technology, especially in the 2017 election where technology failed and we could not transmit the results.
The results could not be transmitted?
Yeah, yes.
Now, does our Constitution allow a postponement of elections?
Postponement of election?
Yes, does our Constitution, does our law allow postponement of elections?
Yes, it does.
What does it say?
Says that elections can be postponed if there is a calamity or war or such serious matters.
It says it can be, for example, for Parliament.
It can be postponed for some time.
How long is that? Let's deal with Parliament. How long can you postpone parliamentary elections? But in other words, for how long can you extend a parliamentary term?
For 6 months.
For 6 months?
Yes.
Does IEBC have a role in extension of parliamentary terms or postponement of elections?
I think it can recommend.
You think it can recommend?
Yes.
Now, Article 102 of the Constitution seems to refer to a postponement of an election or extension of the term of Parliament only in times of war. We now live in an era of a pandemic that has gripped, everyone and every country. Do you think a pandemic such as the COVID-19 would be one justification for the postponement of an election under the Constitution?
I don't think it should be one of them. because there are mitigations we can put in place and go on with the election. For instance, we can just observe the protocols that have been given by the MOH so that we can achieve an election. So I don't think COVID-19 should be a ground to postpone an election.
If you are a commissioner in 2022 and perhaps the government says a week to the election, the government says in view of this pandemic, we will not undertake an election. What would be your reaction as part of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission? Says, no, there is no going out.
I would be able to advise, to recommend that we go ahead with elections, because even our laws do not talk about pandemic being one of the reasons why an election can be postponed. And I give grounds as to why I think we should go on with the election. And I give the government the grounds within which an election can be postponed.
But do you think the government has any power under the Constitution to just say we will not undertake this election, regardless of the circumstances? Is there a role for the courts in ratifying that decision? Or is there a role for any other agency, independent agency, in ratifying that decision? Can the president wake up and say,
yes,
I will not, there's a curfew, people will not go out, and therefore there will be no election? What I'm asking, whether there are any legal steps as an experienced counsel and a member of the commission you would take to deal with a situation of that nature?
Well, the president should be make this pronouncement within the law.
So what would you do if you feel that it is not within the law? What would you do?
To advise or to look for modalities to have him advised that whatever you're saying, Mr. President, is not within the law. So I suggest these modalities, and so that we can be able to, so that I can be able to convince him the necessity of not having.
And if I'm the president and I'm a difficult man, and I have an attorney general who tells me you have the powers, and you are in the commission, and the government says, of the day says, this election will not be held. You are an independent commission. You plead with him, he doesn't accept.
Actually, being an independent commission gives me the powers to stick to that lane of, this is the law, this is what the Constitution says about postponement of the election, and this is the law, because the commission is supposed to be quite independent and making pronouncement or whatever activities they do, they should be guided by the law and within the Constitution.
What we are trying to do is to draw from your experience. You sit in the commission.
Yes.
This is illegal. It has happened. Procedure has not been followed. The government says there will be no election. We will not even send police officers to guard you. We will not even facilitate you, and you are part of that commission. And it's like 2 months to the election. Are there legal options?
Yes, there are legal options where, and first of all, you must bring to the attention of the stakeholders what is in stake, how it's supposed to be done.
Asked differently,
yes.
Can you as a commission undertake an election when the government of the day says there shall be no election? Can you go ahead and say, we are an independent commission, you like it or not, we shall undertake this election?
Yes.
You can do that?
Yes, because we are an independent commission, and we have mandates to pursue, and we have been given these powers by the Constitution, which is the supreme law of this land. We can go ahead and do the election.
And then you find at the polling station there is no security.
Sorry, I did hear that.
You find at the polling station there is no security. Police officers are not there. Election materials are vandalized. So you say there are no legal, you can't think of any legal options. Now let us move from there so that I can ask you the last question. Article 38 of the Constitution says that everyone has a right to vote if you're an adult, and the vote shall be taken through universal or suffrage. What do you understand by universal suffrage under Article 38?
By universal suffrage, it means equal vote, equality in voting, equality in voting. Voting should be equal. The weight of the vote should be equal everywhere. For
That's
everyone.
what universal suffrage means.
Yes.
Universal suffrage means equality of the vote.
Yeah, for everybody.
Okay. Now, I just want to make a statement and you tell me whether it is correct. Everyone has a right to vote. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Everyone has a right to vote.
Yes.
What about people under the age of 18?
People under the age of 18, they cannot vote because they are not qualified to do so.
They cannot vote.
Yes.
Are you aware of any regime that applies to give people in the diaspora their right to vote? People who live out of this country.
I'm aware of
Any legal regime or platform that allows people who live out of this country.
of Kenya allows people in the diaspora to vote.
And how are the votes counted?
The votes are counted electronically.
And the results transmitted from America? How are the results in America, in Washington, D.C.? How will they be transmitted to count in Kenya?
Electronically, I said.
Electronically?
Yes.
Now, if you are voting in the diaspora, can you vote for your ward representative if you are in Washington, D.C.?
I think you can.
You can.
Yes.
Now, how would you, is there a legal regime or practice that allows people living with disabilities to vote?
It is there, and that is the Constitution of Kenya.
How do
It
they
allows.
vote? For example, somebody who is blind.
Yes. They are allowed by the Constitution to vote.
How do they vote? You can't see the ballot paper. There are photos of candidates, and there are names, and you can't read.
They do so through assisted voting, and the person assisting them must take the oath as well.
Do you think, in your experience as a lawyer, that somebody who has mental disability is somebody covered by the Constitution when it says that you have a right to vote, and IEBC has a duty to facilitate voting by those with disabilities, people living with mental disability? Do they have that right?
I'm not sure about people with mental disabilities, whether they are covered.
And what about people who are in prison? Do they have that right to vote?
They do have. They are okay. They have the right to vote.
Do they vote?
They do. Even in this country, they do that.
They do.
Yes.
And lastly, assume that you are in that commission and somebody says, I have a right to vote. You have set an election next year, August, and I really want to vote because Article 38 gives me that right. But I have a scheduled major operation. On the voting day, I will be in the theater. But I want to vote. It is my right. I want my vote to count. I want my voice to be heard. You are seated in the commission.
Yes.
Yes. Now, how do you protect the right of that individual to vote?
And this particular day, they are supposed to attend to a surgery.
Yes, he says, I have a surgery. You have set a date for election. I have told you in advance. I will not be available on that day because I have a medical condition. Yes. And I will be seeing my doctor. I will be in the theater. But I want to vote. I have a right under Article 38 of the Constitution to vote.
Yes. I believe since everyone has a right to vote, especially people above 18 years, modalities should be put in place to have this particular voter who is supposed to attend a clinic to vote.
Are there such modalities now?
At this moment, we do not have. I would recommend that we have e-voting. E-voting from the comfort of your house, you can be able to vote. But at the moment, we don't have such structures for e-voting.
Thank you very much, and all the best.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kimuli. I'll now request Dr. F.S. Abdallah to ask you some questions.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you. Madam Kiusia, good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you.
Right. You are a board member at the NSA for how many years?
For 3 years.
For 3 years.
Yes.
And in your application, you stated that you were awarded 98.5% in the year 2017?
That's correct.
2016-2017?
That's correct.
Right.
Sir.
Please tell this panel the secret of such a high mark and in which department of the management you got this one.
This was a self-evaluation of the board. Self-evaluation where the other members of the board evaluate you and you evaluate them. So there are thematic areas that the board looks at during that particular evaluation. Your performance, how you've been, what you have done to achieve what. So they look at several areas and they award marks based on how you've been performing. Because they are your colleagues and you've been with them in the board, they know you've been performing in these different areas. So this particular one, I scored 98.5%. After my colleagues in the board found that whatever I have been performing in the board was deserving that mark.
Thank you. In the board, you are one of the directors handling the human resources.
Yes, I was the chair of Human Resource Committee.
Of the
yes.
Human Resources. So were these marks towards the human resources achievement in the organization, or was it for strategic objectives?
It was all inclusive, including that one of human resources.
So
yes.
Would I be correct to say that you've got some good experience corporate governance?
I do.
Yeah, all right. Now, through your CV here, is it through experience or through learning? Because from your CV here, I've just seen all your professionalism is on law.
I didn't get the question.
Right.
Yes.
From your CV here,
yes,
your basis of qualifications are in law. Did you do corporate governance?
I have not done corporate governance as a degree level. I only did it as short courses. I've attached most of my certificates for those short courses. 5 days, 3 days, just short courses.
Okay. And what could you bring to IEBC in form of corporate effective governance?
Wealthy of experience on corporate governance, especially how I served in the board of National Construction Authority and other boards that I've just mentioned that I served. I would bring wealthy of experience, and using my corporate governance skills, I'll be able to pass the knowledge, especially of how the Commission should conduct itself vis-à-vis the Secretariat. There should be these are two different bodies with different duties and responsibilities. I would also I'd also be able to to show how issues like issues of conflict of interest should be tackled. There should never be conflict of interest. You don't take your personal interest above the interest of the commission and that of the public. And there are so many issues, especially to do with accountability, transparency, the principles of corporate governance. I'll be able to bring them to the commission with me.
Right, madam. Thank you for that. Now, you are a lawyer, and I'm sure this is not new to you. Section 11A of the IEBC Act attempts to demarcate the role of the commissioners from those of the Secretariat in undertaking the functions of the Commission.
Correct.
Yes, please give us a breakdown of what you understand to be the functions of the commissioners of the IEBC.
The functions of commissioners, commission per se is a decision maker, make policies. It directs and controls management, that is the Secretariat. It does so through committees, It does its work through committees. They create several committees that can handle different aspects. We could be having a finance committee, could be having a legal affairs committee, could be having an audit committee. And these committees make their recommendations and take them to the commission for approval. Now, the secretariats, on the other hand, they are supposed to implement those decisions. They are supposed to consult, to receive instruction from the commission and implement their duties. And the secretariat is headed by the CEO, the secretary. Yes. And yes, I have not answered you.
No, you have. Maybe you could tell us, I'm sure we are all aware of what had transpired between the Secretariat and the Commissioner in the last, with his present board was there. Then there were other 4 commissioners who resigned. And then there was a big issue between the CEO and the board. Yes. What is your take on these? How could that have been sorted out?
There shouldn't have been any issue with the commissioners, the CEO with the commissioners, because each body has their own duties, specified very well in the Act. There should never be any conflict or any interaction, overlap, or anything. So it is very clear in the Constitution, it is clear in the IEBC Act, who does what. The corporate governance clearly sets each particular body or each particular party has their own duties. There shouldn't have been something like that.
Yes, but it was there. So my question is,
yes,
what would you have done to avoid that?
What I would have done is teamwork to guide them, to guide the Secretariat on the way to handle issues like this. If there are any issues within the commission itself, members of the commission, my duty, or what I would do, I would bring the commission together, we reason together, we consult and say we need to move together, we need to have a teamwork. But for the Secretariat, they need to be guided by us. So the Secretariat receives guidance from the commission. We direct them. I hope I'm answering your question.
Are you saying the Code of Conduct in the IEBC Act is not sufficient to have done that?
The Code of Conduct does very well. It should be used at all times. That is one document that should be a guiding principle for the behavioral or the conduct of the of the Secretariat and as well as the conduct of the Commission. So I would invoke that code of conduct because it is very comprehensive, and if there are any disciplinary issues that come out there, I invoke that particular document and be able to solve the disputes using that code of conduct, because the Commission has powers to invoke that document and have the dispute resolved, conflicts resolved.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
What I hear from you comes to teamwork, maybe ethics.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Now, ethical and responsible decision making in the Commission and its Secretary is critical for ensuring credible elections, electoral management body. Yeah? What are some of the measures that can be put in place to making process in the commissions are ethical and as a teamwork?
Okay. I didn't hear correctly. I will kindly request you to repeat the question.
Thank you very much. It'll be my pleasure.
Yes.
We have come and we have agreed that ethics, teamwork is very necessary in the Commission.
It is.
Right. So my question is, I'm rephrasing it and says ethical and responsible decision making. It's come both teamwork and ethical decision making in the Commission, and its Secretary is critical for ensuring credible election management body.
Correct.
Right. What are some of the measures that can be put in place to ensure that the decision-making process in the Commission are ethical?
Thank you very much for that question. I would say some of the principles that we should use to make that, to show that the decision we make are transparency, accountability, professionalism, integrity, and rule of law. Those are some of the principles that we should abide by to make sure that things are done in the right way.
Yes, maybe, as we say, we've already got the conduct, all these things, yeah?
Yes.
But we are missing the most important, why it's not happening. What you're saying is already on the book, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
I'm saying, what is missing? Why is it not happening? Why are we having the squabbles all the time in the IBC running?
Wait, you're saying, why do we have what?
Well, I'm saying,
Yes.
the process, what you're saying, it is already documented. There is a code of conduct and all that.
Correct.
We said we need to do this. We need to do the compliance. We need to do the policies and all that.
Yes.
Is there something missing?
Is there something missing?
That why these policies are in place, the code of conduct is in place,
Yes.
but we are still seeing this backlashing between the Secretary and the Commissioners. And the decisions, the Commissioners are making a different one and the Secretary is making another one. We've been reading it in the papers.
Could be the problem is the lack of cohesion.
Yeah, maybe there's no compliance policies and strict adherence to that.
Maybe so.
Right.
Yes.
Madam, during the elections of the scale and magnitude of our general elections in Kenya, hiring of temporary workers on part-time is inevitable. What risks are associated with such personnel, and what measures should the IBC put in place to mitigate such risks?
I didn't hear the risks.
Thank you.
Yeah, please.
I'm saying during
Yes.
the elections of the scale of and magnitude of our Kenya elections, the hiring of temporary workers is inevitable, right? And it's of course risky, right? What measures should IBC put in place which can reduce the risk of leakages or unethical working style?
I didn't get the question as yet.
Okay, I'll read it then. I said, during the elections of the scale and magnitude of our general elections,
Yes.
hiring of temporary workers on short term is inevitable. What risks are associated with such personnel, and what measures can the IEBC put in place to mitigate such risks?
Hiring of temporary workers during elections, especially the clerks and clerks, polling clerks mostly. And the question is it necessary to hire them?
We can't avoid it. I've said that we can't avoid it. It's inevitable.
Yes.
So I'm saying, what measure can be put in place to mitigate any such risks?
What risks?
Leakages? They are not answerable?
They are not answerable.
They're temporary?
Yes.
Yeah? So most of the time there's not much background study on them? And there are many.
We could make them sign some documents, there's some contracts that will make them bound by that agreement so that they are made accountable. Because we can't do without them. We just have to hire them. So we could make them sign some document, like a contract. For the time they are there, they will be accountable for whatever they have done. The other alternative would just to hire them permanently and have them be part of the employees of the commission. That would be another option.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Dr. Abdallah. I'll now request Mr. Gideon Solonka to ask some questions.
Madam Kusia, in your case study,
Yes, sir.
while addressing the issue of voter register inspection to remove dead persons,
Yes, sir.
you gave this answer that you will ensure that voter register is inspected with a view to removing any deceased people from the register.
Yes, I did so.
Yes. Now, citing the relevant regime, kindly tell us who has that responsibility of updating of the register of voters.
Of removing the dead people from the register.
No, I'm saying
Yes.
of updating the register generally.
Yes, the duty of updating the register is the work of the commission, of course, through its election officials, so that they are able to remove any persons who have already died and they are still in the register, so that we can have the correct people in the register for purposes of the election and voting day.
So what does that inspection entail under the law of the register of voters updating?
What it entails?
Yes.
It is during voter register updating,
Yes.
which is voter registration, voter verification.
Okay.
All right. Maybe I'm not. It is the updating of the register, because it's supposed to be it's before the election. Maybe I'm not getting the question.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that.
Okay, you've answered. Let's move on.
Yes.
Yeah, in the Supreme Court presidential petition number 1 of 2017, Raila Amolo Odinga and another, and IEBC and 2 others, it's reported in EKLR, correct?
Yes.
The court held that elections are events but not processes.
Yes.
Now you're a commissioner and you've been invited to give a public lecture
Yes.
at somewhere here in Nairobi.
Correct.
To Wanjikus.
Yes.
Can you kindly, in very simple terms, tell the Wanjikus what does it mean when you say that elections is a process and not an event?
Election is a process and not an event because it is a process that starts way back from pre-election, during election, and after election. So it is a process covering 3 areas. Pre-election is the time for planning for this election, which includes voter registration, voter education, campaigns, and even training of the election officials. Then the process continues to the day of polling. That is the day when you vote, counting, tallying, collating of the votes. And then we come to the day of after that is post-election, when we look at what we have done and see whether we need to have any reforms or there are gaps that we have seen during the process. So it is a process, it's not an event. It's a process that starts early and ends after some time. And
Thank you so
there
much.
are time frames included.
Correct. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Now, what are the amendments to the Constitution that can be effected only by referendum? Maybe you can mention a few of them, like 5 of them.
What are the what? I didn't hear the question.
Amendments to the Constitution.
Amendments, yes.
That can only be effected by referendum.
Yeah, there are 5. One of them is the office of the president, the office of the president.
And what do you mean by office of the president?
That to deal with the amendment, the referenda can only be used in those 5 areas, one of them being that extension of the office of the president.
Another one?
I'm unable to,
You've forgotten the others?
Yes, I have. I'm sorry about
Okay.
that. Yes.
Fair enough. Now, what is the voting threshold on a proposed amendment on the issues covered under Article 255, 1 of the Constitution? Those issues that must go to a referendum. What is the threshold when it comes to voting?
The threshold.
Yes, the voting threshold. For you or for IEBC to be able to declare that that referendum has succeeded, and if you don't meet that threshold, that referendum has failed. What is the voting threshold?
I think 40%. I'm not.
40% of vote?
Maybe you could rephrase your question, please, kindly.
I'm saying,
Yes.
like for example, you've said that one of the issues is to do with the term of the president.
Yes.
That issue has been taken to the referendum.
Correct.
What is the voting threshold on a proposed amendment of that issue, so that IEBC will declare that Kenyans have agreed to amend the Constitution as regards that item?
Okay, I know there is an approval by the county assemblies,
How many county assemblies?
24 of them.
You're sure of that?
Or is it?
You're sure that when you go to the referendum, you need the county assembly to approve?
They have a role to play. They have a role to play because the bill must be sent to them to discuss it and approve. So there is a certain number of county assemblies that must have approved them for it to be.
Madam Kisia, we have passed the bill.
Yes.
We are at the referendum. I'm voting from Kajiado.
Yes.
Another person is voting from Nairobi. What is the voting threshold on a proposed amendment? You don't know? Let's move. Okay, some countries have made voting mandatory for
Yes.
all eligible citizens.
Correct.
Are you aware of any part of the country, of the world, where this is practiced?
South Africa.
South Africa.
Yes.
Okay. And what will be the merits and demerits of these proposal of mandatory voting, taking into account what you've discussed here about political rights of a citizen in Kenya? That today, Kenya, we decide that it is mandatory. What will be the merits or demerits of that, such law?
First and foremost, you to elect your representatives to the parliament or to the county assembly. So, having voted, you have sent a representative to the parliament. Number two, you exercise your democratic rights. Number three, you have a voice. Through that vote, you have a voice in the parliament or in the Senate where you voted. So those are merits because decisions are made there and you are able to be represented by the person you've elected.
What are the demerits?
Perhaps there are no demerits. Maybe issues of resources, handling so many people during the voting day. And because a lot of resources are spent on this particular day, then you find that maybe that could be one of the demerits, resources being used, a lot of resources being used that day.
So based on that, it's your position that we should not make voting mandatory because so many people will vote and it will affect resources.
I was just saying that would be one of them. I didn't say it is entirely it.
Okay.
But the benefits are more than the demerits.
Okay, let's move to another question. Thank you for that. Results management was a point of contention in the last general elections.
That is true.
Please tell us 3 things that you will propose to be done differently to ensure secure and transparent results management system.
The results management was an issue because the technology failed, so that the transmission of the results was slow or it was completely not done. So I'd suggest that we improve on the technology. At the same time, we also have a fallback, like manual way of transmission of results, so that we don't have issues like were witnessed in 2017. Yes, so I suggest that we can have the electronic way of transmission of results improved, and we can also have manual as a backup.
Now, okay. Lastly, what is the capping of voters at a particular polling station?
700.
700.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Solonka. I'll now request Madam Elizabeth Mayo to ask her questions.
Thank you, Chair. And how are you?
Very well, thanks.
Maybe you can help yourself with some water before we start.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's go ahead.
You need assistance?
I do. Yeah. Kindly.
But we can continue?
You can
Okay.
continue.
And I believe you are here because you really want to be a commissioner at the IEBC.
I do.
You do, yeah?
Yes.
Okay. One of the assignments you might be given if you are appointed is to be in charge of voter education. Yeah? So kindly tell us what the law provides on voter education.
Voter education
Yeah.
must be continuous, and it must be done intensely so that the voters understand their rights of voting and they understand the environment of voting.
Okay.
Yes.
So according to you, voter education should be continuous.
Should be done all the time.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
So do you think that there might be challenges IBC is facing in complying with this provision of the law?
They could be, they could be facing some challenges during, as a result of, they could be facing challenges of voter registration, education.
Challenges like what? Don't just give broad answers. Sorry?
Yes. If we look at voter registration, how it is conducted is that you go to the people and educate them about voting. You actually send people to go and train people on this particular issue of voting. And the challenges that could be there could be challenges like understaffing. Maybe they don't have enough staff to do the training. Challenges of funding, because they don't get enough funding. The funding has not been adequate over the years. And even the materials to do this voter education could be another issue, a challenge. They could not be having them. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
As a commissioner, what would you propose to IBC to address these challenges such that they're in compliance with the law?
I would recommend that we get enough staff to do the training by increasing their capacity to do the training and also engaging more of the staff, so that we don't have gaps in some areas. We don't have gaps, people going to train the voters on voter registration. About the funding should be increased. IEBC should be supported on the issue of funding so that they can do their work, operate their operations smoothly without hiccups.
You should be referring to yourself now, not they.
Yes, I am referring to myself.
Yeah, because you are the one aspiring to be the commissioner, and you have been assigned that docket of voter education. So
yes.
When you say they should, it means that you are distancing yourself.
I am not distancing myself. Yeah. I'm inside. So I'm saying we should be supported for purposes of making this voter education to work, especially funding. That understaffing should be improved by engaging more of the staff more of the staff that will do the voter education. Yeah, so we need support for that.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
If you join IEBC, maybe by next month, must know how to manage risk, and they have risk management units. Yeah?
Yes.
So what are some of the risks associated with stakeholder management that, in your view, might be a problem to IEBC?
Risks are associated with the
stakeholder engagement.
Stakeholder engagement.
Yes.
I would say some of the risks are lack of public participation.
Okay. Maybe let me give you an example, yeah?
Yes.
We are 13 months into the next general election.
Yes.
We just have 13 months.
Correct.
Yeah. So you are expected to deliver next year, come August.
Yes.
So what are some of the risks that you are foreseeing, and how would you address them? Because if you are to be appointed, you will take that seat before the next general election. So
yes.
How will you address these risks?
Okay, so some of the risks, or some of the risks that I'm foreseeing right now is that we may not be having enough time, and there are time frames to be met. So, insofar as time is concerned, we need to move faster and put in place some of these things. For example, we need to have some legislations in place. We need to have to engage, to recruit people who are supposed to do the elections.
And when you look at the
yes.
strategic plan for IEBC 2021-2024,
yes.
they have articulated this very well.
Yes.
So what are some of the risks that you might face? Because as you are joining this institution, you are joining it to add value. So
Correct.
How will you add value in terms of risk management in the area of stakeholder management?
I need to. I'll be engaging the stakeholders in our consultative meetings so that we can achieve the calendar.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, if you are also given a docket where you are expected to come up with various initiatives, including development and overseeing implementation of strategies. Kindly tell us how you will do this. Because you will have strategies put in place, you have a strategy document, you are giving that oversight role, you are not you are not in operations. Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah. So how will you ensure that whatever you have put in your strategy paper is being done according to your plan, on time, by the responsible people?
I will give directions and get feedback, monitor and evaluate what they have done so that I am able to know that they have done the right thing and the strategy, we are achieving the strategies we're putting in place. So implementation will be done by the secretariat or the management, but I am there to oversight and give directions and get feedback. Monitoring and evaluation is very key in this issue so that I can be able to know that we are performing.
Thank you.
We are not performing.
As a commissioner,
yes,
you will be expected to look at implementation in the entire country.
Yes.
Maybe not Nairobi alone, entire country.
Correct.
How would you ensure that whatever is happening in Mombasa is happening in northern Kenya, is happening in western Kenya?
Okay, we in the commission, the IEBC commission, we have regional offices that are spread in the entire country. I think there are 17 of them, if I'm not wrong. And they are in those areas, purposes of coordinating with the headquarters. So using the regional offices in those regions, I'll be able to monitor what is happening down there because my staff is there, down there.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
So this is a very simple question. You are appointed commissioner.
Yes.
You are still given the docket of voter education. So you have a group of youth who just got their registration IDs last month. You
Yes.
have registered them as voters maybe last week.
Mm-hmm.
You are now told to educate them, especially on this simple paper called ballot paper.
Yes.
So in your view, what is the ballot paper and what are the salient features you will impact on this youth?
Okay, ballot paper is the document that you cast as a vote. I mean, that is where you indicate that you are voted by putting the mark that you're saying, I have chosen this particular person. So in the ballot paper, we have the names of the candidates, we have their photographs, we have a place where you would mark what candidate you are choosing, and we also have features that indicate this is a legitimate document, that it's a ballot paper emanating from IEBC. They are there.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
So you talked of stakeholder management as one of the key areas you'll be looking at.
Correct.
So when we look at the Kenyan perspective,
Yes.
who do you consider to be your 10 key stakeholders that if you don't engage them, there might be a problem
Yes.
at the IBC?
My key stakeholders, I would start with the electorate, the voter.
I just want 10. Eh?
You want 10?
Yeah.
Okay. There is the electorate, who is the voter. We have the political parties. We have the registrar of political parties as well. We have the media. We also have the judicial bodies, the civil societies, the faith-based organizations. I believe there are 10 already. They're not? Okay.
That is 7.
7. And we have
Okay.
yes,
You have tried. You have given me 7, yeah?
I tried.
So-
Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah, this one is a demonstration that you understand your stakeholders, yeah?
Correct.
So these stakeholders have got different expectations, yeah?
Yes.
So you cannot tell them that this is what I am going to do and you must all accept it.
Yes.
How are you going to deal with the divergent expectations of stakeholders from IBC?
Purely from consultative meetings. We just have to sit down and agree on the issues. We consult. They bring on board what they have to bring on board. I bring on board, and we consult together and come up with a consensus. We come into the middle.
So you are telling me you are going to bring all the stakeholders in a room like this, consult them, then you agree on a consensus.
Doesn't have to be in
Practical?
Sorry.
Is it possible you can do that? Where you bring political parties, religious leaders, the media, the electorate together and talk to them so that they agree on one
They are
view.
representatives.
You will engage their representatives
Yes.
and bring them together like.
Bring them together, we consult and come up with a consensus.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. So in your view, what do you think are the benefits of having an effective stakeholder engagement?
The benefits are that we come up with resolutions or strategies that are common and they're agreeable to each stakeholder. That we involve them, I have involved them in this decision making. So it is a benefit because they felt valued, that they can bring an input into this discussion. So out of this engagement, they have confidence in the process, and they're happy, and they can see things are being done in transparent way. And then there is transparency and professionalism. So you find that this one will be the best. It will be the best way to achieve some goals together. Yes.
Okay, that is all you have? Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll now request the Vice Chair, Mr. Choka, to ask his questions.
Thank you, Anne. I'll just begin from where panelist Mayo left on the issue of youth. The youth, Kenya, you can describe Kenya as a youthful nation. Almost 60% of the country is young people. But when it comes to exercising their electoral rights, quite often they don't participate in elections. You see them making noise, being given 200 shillings by politicians to shout and sometimes even to throw stones. But when it comes to participating in elections, the turnout of the young people is very poor. Now, as a commissioner, what innovative ideas would you introduce in the commission in as far as approaching getting the youth out and inducing them, encouraging them to come and vote? What ideas would you introduce to the commission?
Some ideas that I would introduce to the commission so that we can bring youth on board is to engage other stakeholders, especially, for instance, political parties and the office of the registrar of political parties, perhaps to see, in order to make the youth understand that They have some rights they're sitting on. We engage with the stakeholders like the political parties and the registrar to have the youth nominated for elective posts, at least to make them understand that they have some rights they are not exercising, so that we can open them up. The other thing would just to encourage them, for those who do not have maybe identity cards or a document to identify them, we encourage them to acquire identity cards so that they can get votes and they can be registered as voters, and then they can engage in voting. And we make them understand that it is key to exercise your right, political right, because it helps you elect the right people in the elective positions. And this I would do mostly through voter education, civic education. I'll educate the youth to understand the importance of being voters and engaging in voting.
Thank you. A lot of this has been tried. What means would you use to reach the youth, especially when you mention voter education, which is good, but how do you reach them? I'm talking of the Instagram youth.
Yes.
What kind of policies or procedures, methods would you introduce, would you urge the Commission to use to reach these young people?
I think we have youth platforms where, in this country, where we can get the youth. It is in those platforms that we would engage the youth. Their Instagrams, their social media, they like that so much. So those are the areas we'll go and try to get them through technology, of course, because they are technology people. Yeah. Thank you.
You mentioned, and according to your CV, you have served on boards of corporations.
Yes, I have.
Now, corporations in Kenya also suffer from one thing that we all know, corruption. And boards have been dismissed and so on and so forth. In your professional experience within these corporations, have you ever been in a situation where members of the board or a member of the board has been compromised or has been approached by some entity for some reasons to favor them, give them a tender or something like that? And what position have you taken yourself in such situations?
Maybe you would not know when somebody has been compromised, but perhaps you would see their conduct in the manner they are behaving towards a particular agenda you could be discussing. In such a situation, I have tried to convince this particular board member to abandon the way they're thinking or the direction they're taking and come, assure them the right direction. Of course, I have to be guided by the law, because if the agenda that we are discussing he is against the agenda, then I suggest to him that this is not the right way to go about this issue, because this is what the law says and this is how we'll go. I'll just discuss with him and persuade that person to abandon that kind of direction and come to the right direction.
Now imagine you're a member of the commission, you have been appointed to the commission.
Yes. You
have just a few months of the election, let's say 6 months of the election. Then information comes that the company or the firm that was tendered to print the ballots is associated with one of the political players in the country.
Yes.
What would you do? in what position you will take on the board, especially when some members of the board still believe that despite that information, we should go ahead and with the printing of the ballots.
Well, I would stand by the truth that the procurement procedures and the procurement laws of this country do not allow procuring services or materials from somebody who has interest, an interested party. The politician is an interested party in this case because the material we are procuring are election materials and there will be conflict. So I'll be able to stand firm and say, this being a politician, we cannot procure these materials from him. There's going to be a conflict of interest. And of course, I'll be guided by the law to do that. The procurement laws, they are very against people with the interest getting materials procured from them.
Your position on the commission is a leadership position.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Yes, it is. And you've been in leadership positions.
Yes.
Have you ever been in a situation whereby, as a leader, you face challenges that try out all your leadership qualities, and you have to use all your leadership capabilities to deal with them? Have you ever been in such a situation? And how have you dealt with it?
What situation? Sorry, I didn't get it.
In leadership positions,
yes,
you face challenges. And you face challenges that demand you to bring out and use all your leadership qualities to solve those situations or those problems.
Yes.
Have you ever been in a situation where you were pushed to the limit to solve a problem?
Well, a situation where you are pushed to the limit to solve a problem, it is always good to stay firm and stand by your ground.
I'm asking is, have you practically been in such a situation ever in your professional life?
Where I've been pushed to the wall to
find solutions to a challenge, a critical challenge.
A critical challenge. Yeah, we get such.
You're not sure. You're not sure, isn't it? Now, and the vote is very important. Sometimes people vote, but the vote does not count. What is the problem with our system that makes people's votes not count?
The vote does not count. Maybe you could rephrase the question.
Yes, I will.
Kindly.
I will rephrase it,
yes.
surely. Yeah. People turn up to go and vote. But at the end of the day, you find that you cast a vote for so-and-so, candidate so-and-so, and that person actually, in real counting, won, but the results that are declared are completely different.
Yes. So you think you voted this person in the winner, and you count the votes, and it's different.
Okay, thank you, Anne. I think, thank you.
Thank you so much, Vice Chair. May I now request Reverend Father Mutia to ask a few questions?
Thank you. Good afternoon, Anne.
Good afternoon to you.
I want to take a moment to ask you a few questions. And as you know, we are charged to look for people with upright moral character to join and become IEBC commissioners.
Yes.
If I were to ask you, what does integrity mean to you?
Integrity, to me, it means morally upright. Doing the right things for the right reasons and in the right direction.
Okay, thank you.
Being beyond reproach, above and working above board.
In your career as a lawyer,
Yes.
is there, do you have a situation where your integrity was questioned? And how did you handle it?
My career.
Okay. Describe a situation where your integrity was challenged. If there is none, just say there is none.
Okay, my integrity was challenged in a situation where I handled a case for someone, and at the end of the day, I concluded the matter and successfully. It was an issue to do with conveyancing, where I had to receive money on behalf of my client. I did that conveyancing matter, concluded it, handed over the money to them. But later, they took me a complaint was lodged against me. And they abandoned the complaint there for so long without doing much about it. So I can say that is the only time my integrity was tested.
Okay.
Yes.
Madam Anne, in your CV,
yes,
I see you are you volunteer as a pro bono lawyer for FIDA.
Yes.
Is that true?
That is true.
Does this mean, or does this influence the way you employ justice when it comes to gender?
Doing work free for people, whether it influences justice.
You are being a pro bono
lawyer yes. Yeah.
for FIDA.
Yes.
Does it influence the way you discharge justice when it comes to gender?
It doesn't influence me. I just do my work as a lawyer. Although in this particular time, I do it free. Pro bono is free. So I do it the same way I do it even when I am being paid. I don't know whether I'm answering your question.
Does it mean that you favor certain gender?
No, it doesn't mean so. In fact, other than FIDA, being a lawyer, pro bono lawyer for FIDA, I'm also a pro bono lawyer for children. In my documents, I have indicated that. In fact, for children, which I believe children are both gender. So in both cases, I've actually gotten an award for that. So it doesn't influence me. I mean, it is not the women that influence me. Mm-hmm. I just do my work for everybody equally the same. Mm-hmm. I dispense justice equally the same for everyone. Mm. Yes.
Thank you, Madam Anne. If I may continue ask you a simple question here. From your background experience as a lawyer, what are some of the measures that have been useful in fighting unethical behavior and that you would propose for IEBC?
Some of the methods of fighting unethical behaviors.
Let me maybe come again with a question.
Thank you.
Am I audible enough?
You are.
I'm asking,
Yes.
from your background experience as a lawyer, what are some of the measures that have been useful in fighting unethical behavior, and you would wish to propose them if you joined IEBC?
Some ways I would propose to fight unethical behaviors would be maybe to have things like code of conduct. We would also, by way of having compliance with Chapter 6 of the Constitution, I propose that all the state officers or public officers or anybody should be compliant with Chapter 6 of the Constitution.
Thank you, Madam Anne. Allow me to inform you, and I believe we've communicated to you that we received a letter from the Law Society of Kenya on
Yes.
the 17th of June 2021.
Correct.
And I believe we communicated to you
You did, yes.
that a complainant by name David Mutisia Makumbi,
Yes,
who currently is deceased,
correct.
complained that you are withholding his 45 million. Could you tell this panel, do you have something to say to this panel about that?
Yes. Actually, I received the communication and I was able to reply to it very comprehensively because there's some documentary evidence that I was supposed to
9, 10, 11,
forward
12, 13.
to indicate that I did not withhold anybody's money for as an advocate or as a lawyer. So that response, I have attached all my documents to show that I paid all the money fully until zero. In fact, it is the client, although deceased now, who has my money for legal fees. And that I've indicated in that comprehensive report, which I sent to the Select Committee.
Thank you, Chair.
Yes.
Madam Chair, maybe I need some clarification from Madam Cusa on some issue here.
Go ahead, Mr. Salonka.
Yes, I see your response. That is the one dated 2nd July 2021,
Yes.
in which you've given a very lengthy response to the issues raised.
Correct.
1,
And
2, 1, 2, 1, 2,
at
mic
paragraph
check.
23, you speak of being surprised that the complainant was summoned to appear before the tribunal for cross-examination.
Yes.
When was that done? The summoning of the complainant, and he declined to appear.
It was done when the matter came up for hearing.
Will you be able to remember?
The dates?
Yeah, and was this pursuant to the case that you had filed before the High Court?
No, it is pursuant to the case that was pending before the tribunal.
So it is the tribunal who
Who summoned him to come?
not the High Court.
Not the High Court.
And what was this case about in the High Court?
The High Court case was a judicial review case in which we were seeking to have some order given by the tribunal quashed, which was done by the High Court in regard to that particular case pending before the tribunal.
Which orders were these? Because from this judgment, I see that the court was, let me finish.
Yes.
That the court was indicating that indeed you have a right to fair hearing, which includes the right to adduce oral evidence and to cross-examine witnesses against
Yes.
against you.
Let me let me explain this.
Yes.
What happened at the tribunal? The complainant. Sorry, I wanted the complainant cross-examined for the signatures and the thumbprints that had been indicated in the documents that he had received the money with.
Yes.
So he did not turn up in court for several times. One day the tribunal said that I think we just ignore this and go ahead and put submissions to this particular case. And the tribunal went ahead and said, let's put submissions to the case and get a ruling. But that would have prejudiced my stand because I really wanted this particular complainant to be cross-examined on the documents that he's saying he never signed, or the thumbprints, his thumbprints that I imposed on those documents. So the tribunal gave an order that the matter proceeds by way of submissions. We were not satisfied, particularly me, I was not satisfied. So my lawyers went to the High Court to quash that decision of the tribunal deciding to file submissions instead of cross-examining the complainant. So the High Court gave the orders of him appearing before the tribunal for cross-examination. So this High Court matter was to quash the decision by the tribunal.
So are you telling us that
yes,
as at that point,
yes,
the deceased had never appeared before court to give evidence?
He has never a single day appeared before the tribunal. The records are there. The tribunal records are there even we are talking.
High Court,
yes,
to get orders to have this person ordered to come and physically to court for purposes of cross-examination.
No,
is that correct?
That is true, but initially it had taken like 2 years before this order was given. There were 2 years when the matter was kept on being adjourned for purposes of bringing this complainant for cross-examination. And he never turned up. Then this particular day, the tribunal said, we'll not continue waiting for this person. We want to conclude this matter. Let's have submissions filed and we conclude the matter. But that one did not sit well with me because I wanted him to be cross-examined on the signatures and the thumbprints he had endorsed. So we went to the High Court to quash that decision of him not coming to the tribunal for cross-examination is what we were quashing in the High Court.
That I understand.
Yes.
Now,
yes.
When did this person pass on?
Passed on in 2019.
Which month?
I think he said that July.
July?
Yes. Or thereabouts.
Yeah.
Yes.
We have that information.
Yeah.
And when did you get this judgment?
The judgment for?
This judgment, the High Court judgment. Where you,
I'm not so sure when I got it.
I can read it.
I have.
It was delivered on 14th November 2019.
Okay.
And this person died in July 2019.
Yeah, but I think he died during the pendency of the judgment to be delivered, perhaps.
So now,
yeah,
if that happened,
yes,
how was this person going to appear when he was already dead? By the time that this judgment was delivered, he was not alive.
What I'm saying is that I think the judgment was delivered, the High Court matter was instituted when he was alive. The High Court matter was disputed when he was alive. But I think the judgment was delivered when he had already passed on.
Yes.
But I'm saying that prior to these 2020 events, this matter is for 2016. And for all those years, the complainant did not turn up in court for cross-examination.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Solonka. Madam Anne Kusia.
Yes, Chair.
We have come to the end of your oral interview. Maybe at this point, I can ask you if there's anything you want to say to us. You may proceed.
Yes, Chair, I would like to thank you very much, the select panel, and tell you that I'm very passionate about working in IEBC because I want to serve my country in that capacity. And I want to bring change, positive change for that matter. I can do anything for this country. So I would ask the Select Committee to give me an opportunity to serve my country in that capacity. I'd be really, really appreciate if that happens. Thank you.
And on our part, allow me, Anne, on behalf of the panel, and even on behalf of Kenyans, to really thank you for expressing that interest to serve by applying to be able to be appointed as a member of IEBC. We don't take that for granted. Yes. So thank you so much. At this point, I'll ask that you ensure that you get back all your original certificates. And we wish you well. We wish you well. So a member of the Secretariat will lead you out, and we wish you a very good afternoon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You are watching TV47, the home of untold stories.
Whoa! Relax. I'm just you from the future. And speaking about the future, do you know what's coming up on Take 47? No, I wouldn't know. How would I anyway? Oh, you don't know? Huh. Take a look. Sure. I mean.
Access granted.
I know, right? Wow. And remember, if you don't see it on Tech 47, then it technically did not happen.
Hey! Kaluma King Herbal Lozenges zinazo nguvu maradufu kutuliza kikohozi, vidonda vya koo na mafua. Kaluma King ni shwari.
Tika mama huyo muharifu kaiba kuku zangu, vifaranga wangu na mayai zote pia kabeba. Haya, tika mama huyo.
Maumivu yakizidi, muone daktari. Sonadol Extra imetengenezwa kwa njia spesheli kupambana haraka na maumivu ya kichwa, mwili na hata meno. Sonadol Extra, hakika maumivu yakizidi, pata ushauri wa daktari.
Weka chini leo by simply placing your bid. You can